Hey everyone, welcome to Breakout Wednesday. It is the 20th of July 2022. It's currently about 3 p.m. on the West Coast and 5 p.m. on the East Coast. First of all, remember, this is never financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is simply a video blog on how one trader sees a market, and everyone needs to take responsibility for their own decisions. Okay, I'm going to rattle through a whole bunch of stuff today. Just quickly, the market didn't break down down through that support line and head lower. It's a good sign. We had a nice rally today. Some of the stocks I was looking at last week, just quickly, ADC's had a nice break and has gone on with it. It's still early days for me, that one. IMU, it started okay. It hasn't gone crazy, but I'm in the money and I'm just sitting back and giving that a bit of time. The one that hasn't started great, but it's a much smaller position, as I talked about last week, and I am giving this time and space to chop because it has such potential to go parabolic. And so I'm just giving it some space and time and with a bit of wider stop in a much smaller position. So I'll follow that up further weeks. And the other one, Merck, is still basing, okay? It's got complete blue sky above it and it's just sitting up there above these old highs. Okay, now I'm going to there are so many stocks right now that are showing signs of turnaround. And like there are hundreds, okay? And I'm obviously not going to talk about hundreds. I'm not even going to scratch the surface in what I'm talking about in terms of the stocks out there. But if you do your homework and spend hours and hours scrolling through charts and doing scans, there are so many stocks that have the basic pattern like this, like a big bear market downtrend. And this is just a rough, very brief, line I drew in, breaking out of downtrends and then starting to form new highs, okay? Higher lows, right? And so, and it's like the same as at the end of any correction that's ever happened in the stock market. Most people at this point in time, 99% of people out there are too scared. They've been scared off. Their long-term holdings have been hammered and absolutely creamed. Their trading accounts been creamed. They're crying under their bed and they don't want to know anything about stocks. And it's exactly the time when all those kind of losers are wussing out and walking away that some of these new breakouts occur and the best risk reward is found, okay, at the end of bear markets breaking out. And I'm not saying we're at the end of a bear market, but I am saying that for me, I need to be in a few of these in case we are, okay? And if we're not, it's okay because they're going to turn around and stop me out. For example, AX1 will turn around and just stop me out, and I just won't give a shit because my risk on it's small and my potential reward on this is massive. And so I think for me personally, I need to be in at least a couple of these turnaround breakouts, like I was at the end of that COVID crash. Okay, for those who are watching the episodes then, and then having the patience to stick with some of those runaway winners can just produce amazing returns and excellent years. Okay, and there are so many of these, right? I'm just going to, it's each for their own which one people take, obviously, but 5GG, I'm going to just crap through a few more. BKG, Booktopia, I mean, that's a little bit different, but I just kind of like this because it's just such a tight pattern forming here, right? And big volume and blah, blah, blah. But there are so many stocks showing life all of a sudden after kind of months of winter. Okay, HM1, another one, just all of these patterns are the same, hey, downtrends, and then I like giving preference to the ones with super tight bases where I can get my stop in and have a really good risk reward, okay? Because if you're just looking at this basically from a traditional point of view, you enter, you stop, and your risk on this is very low. And if you can get like 1 in 5 of these to just storm up and break away up here, I mean, as long as you have the patience to sit with those winners, this is what trading's all about. This is what position trading's all about, right? Finding times when the risk reward's in your favor and going for it. And so there are so many. There's zero, which is just showing signs of bottoming, okay? And there's whoops, sorry. There's heaps, even though this is too small for most accounts, but on the real spec end of town, there's just, I'm not going to go through them all because this is endless, okay? But I do have some other setups I'll talk about in a sec. It is mentally, I just should add, it is mentally hard taking some of these because the last, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, we had some amazing bull market in coal stocks and energy stocks, but For those not, it's still been a hard market recently. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've been trading. There's been some whip outs and fake outs and hard lessons learned for everyone. And it is mentally hard to then flip around and start buying breakouts again. But it's exactly when you don't want to buy them that probably the best risk reward and the best opportunities, that only come around every couple of years are there. I'm not saying that's occurring right now, but I'm saying there is definitely a chance of it. Iris, okay, more of a traditional setup in Iris, just a big base and, just a flush out down here. For those new people, what a flush out means, right, is that we're going down, we're flushing down below a big significant low, and we're really just, rejecting those lows and then breaking up, okay? And we rejected those lows with kind of a lot of energy, right? Because we had this huge rally on decent volume, and now we're forming a tighter right-hand side. So it's a more of a traditional setup, but I do like it, and it's got a little bit of overhead supply, but everything does. Not everything, but nearly everything does right now. And I'm still watching NWE based away. It's incredibly boring, and I'm just not going to take my eye off it. I actually have orders in place just because it's just holding so tight, and I'm just going to be patient on it and see if it breaks out. REA. Okay, and so I was talking about last week about my favorite setup after a big correction is just a nice rally on good volume. So I always preference the stocks that have a little bit of desperation buy-in, like people getting in on nice volume. And so a nice strong rally and then followed by a really tight base of at least 10 days. And REA has given us 10 days now. And so, and this stock's just, obviously it's real estate. Everyone knows what REA is, but it's classed in many ways as a tech company because most of the business is online, blah, 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 in the cloud. And it's been hammered, not as bad as many tech stocks, but it's gone from 180 to 90 something. So, nearly 50% or whatever. So, there are just so many setups, okay? And this app is not about, pointing out the two best ones I love. It's more that this is just what's happening in the market right now, and I want to be a part of it in case we're about to have a big bull, a bit of a huge rally. And so VAP, this is a property stock. There are a property ETF, I think. There are a bunch of property, actually, stocks in the property sector which are setting up. VCX, just broke out to blue sky, and I found that one really interesting, and I was hoping it wasn't going to break until Breakout Wednesday, but it did. And there are some like this, and I do like the ones that just have blue sky, obviously, but they are hard to find right now. Okay, and so there are some few other ones for those who love the American markets. I find it interesting. Last week I was looking at Amazon thinking, shit, this thing's basing away, it might break down, and it's had like 4 or 5 tests, and it's put in a bit of a higher low, and now it's breaking up out of that. And I think it's important to just keep an eye on these stocks like Amazon to see what happens. This can just hold this high and rally. It's going to be a wonderful sign. And so I thought that was worth pointing out. And another one I'm looking at in America is just Vertex. So it's just sitting up. This needs a lot of basing, but I'm looking for leaders. I'm looking for stocks that are setting up with blue sky. I always preference those to the ones with so much overhead supply because I'm looking for the next leaders of the bull market, right? For those who've read Davis's book, right, at the end of a mini bear market, at the end of winter, he was looking at stocks that didn't really decline with the overall market, and they were sitting up at all-time highs, basing away. And he was looking for expensive stocks. He wasn't really looking for cheap penny dreadfuls. He was looking for expensive stocks that he could plow most of his account into. And so I'm looking for that. VRTX has a long way to prove itself in my mind, but it's just one of the things I'm looking at. Okay. Now, just in the trusty old Davis scan, I'm just going to do it just because it always does find me stuff. I just was playing around before. Let's just go back. Okay. All right. Now, let's just quickly scroll through. It's just the scan I do every day, and I could talk about all these. I'm not going to. I'm interested in DRE. Okay, it is a penny stock, obviously, but it's just held up so well. And if you just go and get many of its kind of peers and similar stocks, a lot of them are just being obliterated. And DRE hasn't, and it's sitting there, and it's got a nice clear base, really nice volume patterns, like big volume, and then small volume, and during the base, and so it's got a lot going for it. It's not perfect, but I do like setups like that, and I just like the fact that it's got so much relative strength against a lot of the other penny stocks in that sector. Okay, and been moving pretty quick, so I'm actually not going to go too over today. There are some other good Dava scans here. I'm not going to go through them all, but there are some other really nice ones in there. Now, I just wanted to quickly, I've got a new position on AMD. Just there's been some really funny, I find it funny, I find it crazy, but it's very interesting. The Pelosi has, obviously everyone involved in the stock market knows of her dealings and how good she is at buying ahead of big moves, and it's pretty funny some of the stuff going around on social media about her. And her husband, she already owns like a boatload of NVDA, and I forget how much, but it's like millions and millions and millions of it. Husband just bought 5 million more, and I thought it's funny to point out. I like following this stuff, and I've been following the semiconductors pretty closely since all that stuff started breaking. I have a position on AMD just from this. I don't have my moving averages on. It's a very different sort of trade for me, but once again, I thought it was interesting. We had this flush out below these lows, and it's just kind of rejecting it and then formed this little pivot, and then this is a mini higher low here, and it's a smaller position with a tighter stop, but it's kind of bottom picking, right? But the thing about bottom picking is that you only really need to be right 1 in 10 times if you are patient and just really capitalize when you are right. And so we'll see how that unfolds over the next month or two, but I'm hoping that I've picked near a bottom on AMD. But a lot of these semiconductors, I'm hoping Pelosi's is right, and she's picked the bottom, and some big news is going to come out, and these things are going to have a mammoth of all rallies. NVDA had the exact same pattern. I don't know why I didn't take the NVIDIA one instead, but I didn't. But they just moved the same, those two stocks. They're legit kind of the same, right? Now, that's all with stocks. I just wanted to quickly talk about Bitcoin, just because it's breaking out. It had a big day of last night, and it has clear resistance. It came to this 22 level, and it's broken up above it. And just when everyone thinks it's dead, this old baby is going to come storming back to life. Shit, what's going on? And so I just thought it was interesting. I haven't given up on crypto. I'm still a believer. There's just not been much to talk about lately, other than I could talk about, a lot of the scams and a lot of the stuff that's been falling apart and people losing money. But I only really want to talk for 12, 13 minutes every week. And, but I am watching this chart. I've still got some Bitcoin. I've added here, and we'll see how it all unfolds. It's interesting times in the market. I hope everyone's well. I know I've missed a few lately, but I'm going to be missing more. I'm off to New Zealand with the family. I'm going to teach the kids how to ski. I will maybe do a talk for the next 2 Wednesdays, but I've got to admit, if I wake up and there's fresh powder, I give myself zero chance of doing it. So probably see everyone back in 3 weeks from now. Take care. Cheers.